Nula, Haiti Biz News, Seejeanty, we are here. Now, we are much later than usual. 6 p.m. is what my time shows, right? And so when I say 11 a.m. ish, that might include a few hours. But no, in all seriousness, those who follow me on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, all those other places, even YouTube. In fact, I dropped this on YouTube. I was going to be several hours behind. We had a shoot that we knocked out earlier today, and so here we are, much later, but we're here. There's news to be covered, and so there's no excuse. We're going to be out here, even if we got to shift the schedule where I'm going to be out here, so we can talk economics, we can talk business, we can talk current events that affect everything I just mentioned as well. As per usual, though, I got to do my little bit of a intro segment there as I take care of things in the background. It's a one-man show here, so I got to do a few little kinks and things I can only do once the stream starts. So you guys give me 5 minutes. We'll be right back, and we have quite the episode in store. All right? Okay. We'll be right back. 11 a.m. We're here every Sunday, right? 11 a.m. Haiti Biz News Show. It's Sundays weekly. It's Seejeanty, Haiti Biz News Show. We talk about news, current events as it relates to macroeconomic condition. You can always catch us live every Sunday, 11 a.m. Haiti Biz News Show. We are on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we are on Instagram. You can always catch us 11 a.m. On Sundays. We are live on air. We're going to be talking weekly happenings, economically focused on what has happened, and we're going to dissect it in an unbiased, impartial way. And a big part of what we do here, of course, is Haiti Biz News Show. I did not see and do not see any place online where folks can get a CNBC, Bloomberg-like focus on what's going on at the macroeconomic level of Haiti. So this is what this program is here to do. Haiti Biz News Show, Sunday, 11 a.m. We're here every Sunday, right? 11 a.m. Haiti Biz News Show. It's Sundays weekly. It's Seejeanty, Haiti Biz News Show. We talk about news, current events as it relates to macroeconomic condition. You can always catch us live every Sunday, 11 a.m. Haiti Biz News Show. We are on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we are on Instagram. You can always catch us 11 a.m. On Sundays. We are live on air. We're going to be talking weekly happenings, economically focused on what has happened, and we're going to dissect it in an unbiased, impartial way. And a big part of what we do here, of course, is Haiti Biz News Show. I did not see and do not see any place online where folks can get a CNBC, Bloomberg-like focus on what's going on at the macroeconomic level of Haiti. So this is what this program is here to do. Haiti's News Show, Sunday, 11 a.m. We're here every Sunday, right? 11 a.m. Haiti's new show. It's Sundays weekly. It's Seejeanty, Haiti's new show. We talk about news, current events as it relates to macroeconomic condition. You can always catch us live every Sunday, 11 a.m. Right? Haiti's new show. We are on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we are on Instagram. You can always catch us 11 a.m. On Sundays. We are live on air. We're going to be talking weekly happenings, focused, economically focused on what has happened. And we're going to dissect it in an unbiased, impartial way. And a big part of what we do here, of course, is Haiti Business News Show. You know, I did not see and do not see any place online where folks can get a CNBC, Bloomberg-like focus on what's going on at the Boom, we're back on air. How's everyone doing? Seejeanty, Haiti Biz News Show. Today is the 9th of Sunday. News that's going to keep you informed, engaged, and reacting in the most optimal way for your business investment and entrepreneur activity. As the old intro used to go, right? Well, I'm very happy as folks are piling on IG, as folks are piling to Facebook, folks are piling to YouTube. I know it's not our usual time. Not expecting the same numbers. It's okay. It's all right. It's fine, right? But still, the news is going to be delivered. And for the folks who are used to seeing and getting the information when at their leisure, this information will be recorded. This information will be available to folks to be able to watch after the fact, right? So have a seat. Those who my usuals, have a seat. You know, I have a few new folks here, right? And as always, we try to give this information fair and balanced, right? Fair and balanced, right? Without the usual fluff and by politique and a whole bunch of nonsense, right? So welcome. We certainly will try to keep the time probably a little shorter than we're at where we usually do our shows. I know it's Sunday evening, folks probably are multitasking right now, but nonetheless, we're happy to have you. Happy to have you on the stream watching. And of course, our usual time is Sunday, 11 a.m. Right? Sundays, 11 a.m. Right? We're going to be talking about a lot of different things, but first and foremost, I want to mention that YouTube Seejeanty, right? YouTube Seejeanty, we had an incredible episode, where we featured deportees who are impacting and changing Haiti in an incredible way, right? And that link will be actually after the video, will be below in the description, but you can always go to YouTube Seejeanty, and check that video out. I mean, it's right now, it's one of our most popular videos that we've had on the channel. Within 24 hours, it blew anything else we'd ever outputted yet thus far, right? A lot of folks have resonated with the folks who were featured. Big Mac, Mike, aka the Haitian 50 Cent, as I like to call him, and of course, Life in Haiti, Marie. These folks were all present and telling their side of the story, telling their side of how they got into the situation that they did, but then also how they overcame, how they conquered, and how they're impacting Haiti. And truly, the question we asked at the end of the episode was, potentially, first off, how are we looking at deportees? And secondly, they truly may be the answer. They truly may be providing and have provided thus far a lot of the potentiality for impact and change in the country, right? And so, again, you haven't seen that episode yet. I'm sure you have already, but if you haven't seen it yet, it's on YouTube, Seejeanty, most recent episode. And while you're there, hit that big red button, subscribe, hit that big notification button. Make sure you know when we have new content coming out, right? And stay in the know, right? Beyond that, we have, of course, folks who care to contribute to in a different way. As always, I always tell folks the best way to impact the mission that we're doing, a mission of trying to change the vision and view of how the country is looked at, is by sharing the stream, right? For those who want to contribute in a different way, I'm gonna drop right here, boom, right here on the YouTube and Facebook streams. And we're on actually Periscope as well for any Periscope watcher. You're gonna see a little banner down underneath. A shout out, of course, to Jocelyn Jean and Stephen Pierre, who contributed after the stream, or at least during the stream. Sometimes I can't see Square Crash activity while I'm in, but certainly I always try to give that special appreciation afterwards, right? Because you guys are adding to the war chest. A lot of the folks who contribute, they're contributing to more content. In fact, one of the reasons why we're on air right now at 6 rather than 11 a.m. is because just happened, where I was able to go out of the city, because a lot of folks, probably my most common critiques, after that, and of course, folks always know the reason why we do it in English is that there is no other place where folks can get information on Haiti in English to better inform them. That's one of the problems that Haiti has, is that there is no English source for fair and balanced information, number one. And number two, l'autre haïtien, c'est pas parler Haïti mal, parler Haïti mal, yo pas gagner bon pour yo dire une situation, yo pas prendre information dans sens tête fouette avec analysis, right? And so so for those reasons, but nonetheless, there's a lot of places in Creole you can get your information. I always tell folks that, between Telemetropole, Television, Teleguinea, Tripotai Lakai, Johnson Napoleon. I mean, this goes on and on, but there is no place where you can get this information in English. So after that most common critique, the second most common critique is, how come all your content is based in Port-au-Prince, which is, first off, not true. Some of my most popular videos is when I went to Mayor Ballet, another very popular video. I went to Inch, another very popular video. Is actually one of my first videos when I was doing, came back to Seejeanty and doing the content we were doing actually happened in Cap Haïtien. So, folks who say that, first off, they don't really watch my content, so they don't know, right? But actually, let me see something. I have a little thing happening. Let's see what's going on here. Read. Okay, all right. That's a little message here. I don't know about how to read that. And so because of the donations that I've been getting, I was able to go ahead and participate in a really cool episode that's going to be upcoming this week. We went to St. Louis du Sud, and there's a really incredible project that's happening out there, and I'm really happy, really happy to share what's happening out there, show the city of St. Louis du Sud. One of my first questions is I asked was, okay, the St. Louis du Sud, is there a St. Louis du Nord? And of course there is, up out in Portape. So maybe someday in the future I'll be able to highlight them as well. And because I feel, I'm sort of ADD. I feel the need now to be nice and organized and do St. Louis du Nord as well. But again, I can't wait to share that with you. And again, that's a big part of the reason why we were able to go that far and do what we did was because of, the folks adding to the war chest. Because, it's a team. We have a team that's doing what we're doing here on Seejeanty, right? And what we have when we do go out, we have to make sure we cover these guys' food, these guys' lodging. And so that's what the war chest does, right? And so those who want to contribute, you're more than welcome. But again, the way you can contribute, you don't have to, it doesn't cost a penny, right? And you're impacting almost as good, which is sharing the message, what we're doing here. Hit that share button, hit it, do a watch party, guys. That's an idea, right? Otherwise, share it not only on your Facebook and on your social media, but also go ahead and share it in any groups that you may be a part of that you think what we're trying to do here, which is informing folks, economic conditions, macroeconomic news, things that are going on in the country. Try to avoid politics as much as possible. Only in so much of how it's affecting everything I just mentioned. We might find that interesting. It's in English. Please go ahead and share the stream accordingly. Okay. Now let's talk about some headlines. But before I do, I want to say what's up to some folks who I'm seeing come in the stream. We have Frankie Leger. How you doing, man? Happy to have you in the stream. First time I'm seeing your name. Good to have you, Frank. Frankie. We got Rick Tubbs. Michael Magnet saying I'm making him think about coming back to Haiti, which is always great. At least, at the very least, you can always visit. Visiting doesn't cost. Is very low intensity, right? And so you have to necessarily come back, but at the very least, coming to visit is always something that's attainable for anyone and everyone. We have so many nice resorts. The Cameroon's reopened. That, in fact, is one of the news stories, right? The Cameroon's reopened, for example. Always hit up the Cameroon, right? We got Lucien Coleman. Good evening. Good evening. I'm used to saying good morning. For my folks saying good evening, something I get used to right now for this episode. And then we have Pierre coming live from Periscope. That's something I'm not used to seeing. It's a new stream source for us here. But what is up, Pierre, right? Oh, it's Pierre K. Excuse him. Désolé, Pierre K. Right. Certainly hope to have you back, Pierre K. So I can continue to butcher your name. I'm terrible with that. Right. So headlines. Let's talk about headlines. What we're going to be talking about today. COVID numbers, of course. COVID numbers. It's still here. There's no vaccine just yet. And so we're going to be giving those numbers. Seeing how we're doing out here in Haiti. Right. International aid is still is something that it's a thing as always. And we're going to be talking about some of the new sources of income for the Haitian government. Geopolitical has announced some things that are causing some controversy, right? We can talk about that. Textile closures. Certainly not what we like to report here on Haiti Biz News, but we're going to be talking about that. Textile plants in particular, textile plant closures, right? Central Bank of Haiti. The Central Bank of Haiti has some stats that are not favorable. Not at all favorable, and we're going to be talking about that. The monetary funding of the government, that's part of what the central bank has done, has been doing, causing some dégâts. We're going to provide some analysis from that perspective. And then the Cameroon, has some information. We're going to be talking about that. Deportees, some things going on in Panama. We're going to be talking about that. Gang violence. We're going to finally talk about that this week. We've avoided that topic, but it certainly affected a lot of different things as relates to the Haitian economy. So we're going to provide a bit of a breakdown, a bit of an update, tête fouette analysis of what has been happening, right? Electricity is a thing we're going to be talking about. Right? And as it relates to EDH employees and some things happening in Cap Haitien. So that, ladies and gentlemen, that's the headlines, right? We'll be talking about today. So, I'm a hungry kid looking to dive into the news here, so I can't wait. We got Bounce Bougie 11. Oh, good to see you, brother. Happy to have one of my morning regulars here. First morning regular I've seen in the chat, brother. Good to have you. Rick Tubbs asking a question. He says, thinking about visiting Thailand, it's so cheap, especially when it comes to hotels. Why is Haiti so expensive? That is a fantastic question. Hotels in Haiti are. So that's one thing I've actually always was taken aback. The average price of a Haitian hotel, typically, but a good one, right? A good one, not one that's not good, but a good one. And I'm talking Kinam, I'm talking about Caribe, I'm talking about Marriott, I'm talking about Waziz, I'm talking about Servitol, I'm talking about Visa Lodge, on and on and on. You're looking at maybe if you're on a special, you get $100 a night, but the average, honestly, is generally about 120 a night, right? And that's certainly very unaffordable for Haitians in general, and then even for visitors, it's a bit of a touch. What Rick Tubbs, what I would advise you to do, brother, is to check out Airbnb. There's a lot of really nice Airbnbs in Haiti, very secure ones as well, and they're a lot more affordable. I mean, I've seen Airbnbs in Haiti that provide breakfast and everything for those $40 a night, right? And real nice ones, I'm telling you. So I'd say take that as a route, right? The hotels are expensive because people pay it. It's simple economics. People charge what they know they can get people to pay for. That's the simplest thing, right? And so because some people are paying for it, they're going to charge it. If there's more people going to Airbnb because Airbnb is more affordable, eventually those who are running these hotels will start modulating their price downward to make sure that they're not losing these customers and the numbers that they may lose them, right? That's the best solution I can give you. If I get a solution, by Gisa. You know what I mean? All right. So and by the way, I read all comments on air, right? If we have a lot of folks on, I may read the one that I can engage more with. But you're welcome to again Instagram as well. Let me give some Instagram some love here. Let me take a look, see who's waving back. We got Badu 45. What is up? Let's see who else is on here. We got a couple folks. What is up? Those who are on here again, don't be shy, right? You guys are my co-hosts, right? You guys are my co-host. So do leave a comment, right? They're read live on air, right? Right. So in fact, I just made myself a little note to tell you guys to leave a comment going forward. Usually I wait about halfway through to before I remember. You know what? I probably should tell them they need to type something so we can have this conversation, right? So just bear keep that in mind, right? It's a conversation we're having here. So drop it. We got Certifié Diz, waving back on Instagram. What is up? Right? Now, let's hop into the news. Now, COVID, we're at 2,536 active cases, right? 2,536 active cases, right, in Haiti. That's 200 less than last week, which was 200 less than the week before, which is 200 less than a week before that, right? And so we are certainly on a downward trend here in Haiti. And that's exactly where we want to be. Because the worst case scenario would have been a trend where we're seeing numbers like Dominican Republic, for example. In Dominican Republic, we're seeing 34,951, which is up 4,000 cases, right? And we're seeing the death count is at 1,289, which is 200 more than it was last week. When we compare that to Haiti, Haiti's at 182, which is 26 more than last week. And in Dominican Republic, the week before, it was 7,000 more. The week before that, it was somewhere around 5,000 to 7,000 more before that. So Dominican Republic certainly is experiencing more. This is actually the first week where I've seen the Dominican Republic numbers actually rising a little less quickly, but it's still in the thousands. Of course, the reason why we have to report the Dominican numbers is that we share the same island, right? A lot of Haitians are on the Dominican side, right? In fact, reported last week, over 100,000 Haitians from the Dominican side moved back to Haiti, right? And so these are folks who potentially may spike the numbers once again, right? And so it's very important to stay on the very pulse of what's going on the island we share as it comes to COVID, right? So, but nonetheless, the official numbers from the Ministère de Santé Publique has Haiti decreasing for the fourth week in a row, which is exactly what we would like to see. And I can tell you, as someone who's right here, right now in Haiti, folks haven't followed the guidelines. You can't go into any store really without seeing 99% of folks with masks. Some places won't even service you if you don't have a mask on. So it's great to see. I went Undeo. I can tell you Undeo, the masks, I don't think I really saw any masks in the provinces of Haiti. But, you always have to remember, the provinces have something, the city dwellers, a lot of them don't really appreciate faith and tea and herbal remedies. And before you laugh at me, before you think I'm a kook, listen, I was suffering personally this week coming back to Haiti. I was personally suffering from a very, very debilitating gastrointestinal ailment. I mean, to the point where I didn't even want to eat. I was suffering, guys, let me tell you. And I had a close cousin of mine who had just come from Undeo, from the provinces, and had a bunch of different leaves and herbal remedies. And I told my cousin, this is what I'm feeling. I said, listen, I got you. You'll be done in a week. In a week, this thing you're feeling will be gone. I'm like, God, I went to the hospital for this, guys. I mean, this is how bad this was for me. I went literally to the hospital, guys. And I mean, big medical bill. Luckily, I had insurance. It took care of it, but big medical bill. And I was very much, call me skeptical, call me a skeptic, right? And it wasn't 3 days. I mean, she said a week. It wasn't even 3 days. And my stomach ailment was knocked out, gone, just by drinking tea, right? And I was on antibiotics. I was in the States, giving me a bunch of other stuff, tests, this and that. 3 days, drank some tea, knocked out. I share the story just to say, in the provinces, yeah, they may not be wearing masks, right? But they're drinking some tea, boy, that will knock out even the worst douleur, the worst pain, right? And honestly, even the Western science as well would tell you one of the first things they wanted you to do is drink tea, drink warm water, keep this throat area, uptake your vitamins, right? Antioxidants, all that, and that's what most teas have, by the way, right? But anyways, before I become Dr. Seti, right? Before Big Pharma comes after me, let me stop right there, right? It's Big Pharma. They don't like us being told that there's alternatives out there from pills and everything, right? So let me stop, right? Let me stop. That's an enemy you don't want to have. Rather be enemies of CIA than Big Pharma. Let me tell you. I'm being facetious here, but there's some truth in it, right? But those are the COVID numbers, right? Those are the COVID numbers, and again, we're very happy to see that the numbers are on a downward tick. Let's see what folks are saying in the chats right now. We got Freddie Elias. How are you doing, brother? Happy to have you here in the chat. First time I'm seeing you. That's one benefit of changing up my time because of what I got going on. I'm seeing some folks I usually don't see, who usually are unavailable. So I'm very happy to see Freddie Ellis in here, former student of mine in economics, one of my better students as well. Guy knocked out the parking class. So very happy to have you, Freddie, in here. And please contribute however and wherever you see it makes sense. Do go ahead and contribute to the conversation, right? We got Fiva saying, oh, Sagafit, my guy, just watched the Haitian Hillbilly video. Keep it going. Thank you. Hope you subscribed. If you're your first video, hit that big red button. A lot more content coming down the pipeline, right? So make sure you're subscribed. And usually 11 a.m. is when we have these episodes. 11 a.m. is when we usually have these episodes. So please, hope to see you again, Fiva. Lucian says, I am sponsoring a college student, Guanai, right? And interested, earning some income while in school, starting a solar generator service opportunity, charging cell phones, etc. Any guidance you would recommend? It's a lot of stuff in that text. I don't quite understand what the question is. I don't know what the question is. Re-ask it clearly in a few words. There's a lot of background mixed with that question. Didn't quite get it. We have Manu Musa. Good to see you in the chat today. Says, I heard the food price is very expensive in Haiti. Gatorade costs like $30. That is untrue. That's untrue. I don't know where you're getting that information from. Isaac Fios says, did your gastro issues resurface? No, I mean, literally, this past few days is where it went away. And it's went away in a way that it feels generally gone. Like it's gone away in the past, right? But it went away in a way that it just literally, you can feel the difference. You can feel as healing happening in my stomach here, and that's uniquely because of Haitian tea. I'm telling you. You know, it's the reason why doctor said he was taken care of. You know what I mean? Okay, he subbed. We got Marion's missionary. Good to have you. Blessings for sure. Good to have you in the chat here, right? Give me one moment, guys. I'm going to be right back. Bear with me. It's going to be a black screen for a second, but I'll be right. All right, sorry about that. Take care of something really quick in the background there. That was 5 seconds, I think. That was 5 seconds. I need to get a team around me so I can just wave and get stuff, right? But in any case, Paul, what is up? Says, what's up, Genty? What is the plan? What's the goal from that networking, my brother? Been following you. What is the plan or your goal from that networking? Not quite. I don't quite understand that question. Excuse me. I don't quite understand that question. So let me know what you mean. The plan is to produce more content to show Haiti in a different way, different light, and of course, inform folks about what's really happening in Haiti from a tête fouette perspective, from perspective analysis, perspective of statistics, perspective of informing folks in a way they can act on the opportunities that exist in the country, because there's a lot of opportunities that exist in the country. Let's talk about the next news story. Has to do with international aid. Next news story has to do with international aid, right? We're going to follow up. We're following up on the $15 million reported back in May for food insecurity. When we talked about how USAID is getting $15 million for food insecurity. Updated numbers. They've been able to give about 121,000 food rations to people. Or sorry, let me say that again. 121,000 people have received food rations, right? And what in those food rations were up to 50 pounds, 50 kilograms of rice distributed in those food rations, 12 kilograms of peas, 9.2 pounds of cooking oil, right? So a total of 27,000 tons of of food have been distributed to Haitians for the tune of 15 million. And of course, that's just a status update. We do expect those numbers to most likely double, right? Most likely double, right? That's that news story. Next news story has to do with Digicel. Digicel, interestingly, has caused a lot of controversy. Digicel has announced that they're going to be expressing their monthly payment rates or their monthly bill. Digicel has two types of ways you can interact with Digicel. Digicel, of course, for those who don't know, that is the largest phone carrier in Haiti, right? For those who don't know, Digicel is the largest phone carrier in Haiti. Also, you probably know if you're Jamaican, they're there, and a lot of other countries as well. And so they, largest carrier in Haiti, by customer base. What they're doing now, because you can still pay them, Papa Dops, as they call them, those guys in the street. You say, here's 200 good. I want enough minutes, just to make a quick phone call. That's always going to be good, right? Now, those who pay monthly bill rates, and the monthly bill rates it's more in tune with how we, like in America, would understand how to pay a phone bill, right? You pay a monthly amount on the 15th, and that covers your usage for the upcoming month, right? Or at least the month before, right? Postpay is what they call it, right? You use it, and then you pay for what you used the month before, usually at predictable amounts, right? And those amounts are going to be going forward. They're going to be quoted in dollars. When I say quoted, like it's going to be, shown in dollars, but of course charged in good, right, onto your credit card or however you're paying for it. If you're going to physically go and pay for it, which is an option here in Haiti. And so that's caused a lot of controversy because a lot of folks have been confused. A lot of folks have been very confused because to them they're like, wait a minute, are you guys changing the currency, the charge bill rate to good, which is, folks feel very sensitive about that, even though the good has been depreciating considerably. And we're going to be talking about that later in this episode. There's still impartiality, not only amongst the people, but also the government itself in terms of, how, big entities, even small entities, are charging and charging their services, rather it be in good or dollars. In fact, the Minister of Commerce, the head of that, made an announcement reminding people that everything in this country needs to be quoted in good, and reminded that there was a recent executive order passed in September 2018 that said that reiterated, clearly that everything in this country, in Haiti, everything must be posted, and not only in good, but of course reminded folks, you can't not accept good. You have to, in any place that has not, they hear, or, you can report, will be heavily fined, heavily sanctioned, right? But you can understand, again, we've talked about it last episode. We'll talk about it again here. You've seen just last year, between this year and last, almost a 30% decrease in the currency, not even accounting for the inflation. So assuming you just ignored inflation, right? We've seen a 30% decrease in the value of the good, right? So, it is perfectly rational to say, I'd rather get my money in dollars, right? But if you're doing business moves in the country domestically, you have to accept good, and that's one reason why I always advise folks, if you're going to start a business and do a business here in this country, it's always better to look outwardly, right? Look at outsourcing potentially, look at creating a product in country, but then exporting it out into the world, because that is the legal way to ensure that you aren't stuck with the domestic problems of this country in terms on your balance sheet specifically, right? You may be stuck with Haiti's problems on your expense side, but on the revenue side, you'll be making money in dollars and you'll be making money in an international market wherever you're exporting to, right? Which is honestly a no-brainer. But again, we're not going to go that far. Honestly, we're not going to go that far. Maybe we won't. Depends on what the news story is, what you guys are asking, right? That's what the other folks are saying. We got yours truly, PL, saying, I shared your live, bro. Keep it going. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing it. Certainly appreciate it. The share. And of course, remind everyone, share the stream. Costs you nothing. It's bringing some more folks in here. We're looking to have an engaging conversation. The more folks we have in here, the better conversation we have, because the better comments, the better questions, right? And the more we can get out of this. I'm not here for myself. I'm here for you guys, right? So the more folks you can bring in here, the better conversation we'll have. Looking forward to having that conversation, right? We got Susie Marin saying, hey, Genty, blessings right back to you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. They just said, I needed to offer a monthly flat fee. A long time ago, they also are late. Well, no, actually, no, they've had a monthly rate forever, actually. As long as I've been in Haiti, they've had a monthly rate. And as long as I've been in Haiti, I've been using their monthly rate. The only thing that's changed is that they're starting to issue or posting what that monthly rate's going to be in dollars with an exchange rate on the side, saying, this is how much it is. In other words, to make it not confusing as they want it to be, they've changed their monthly rate to dollars. Epifini, okay? They've changed their monthly rate to dollars, right? And so that's caused controversy. Right? That's in reality, that's what's really happened here, right? And so that's all. But they've always had it, though. They have always had it, right? Next news story has to do with textile plant closures. Not the sort of news we like to report here at all, but we got to report it because it happened, right? And that is Korean firm H&H Textiles, SA, have closed 2 other factories in Haiti, one in Kafu, another one in Sunapi. Total loss, 4,000 jobs, right? And so this is certainly not at all the sort of news we like to report here. They said that the reason why they've closed down is primarily because of the lack of demand due to COVID. Lack of demand due to COVID. They've had to make adjustments, and because of the lack of much less demand, the American economy, as they say, when the American economy catches a cold, the world catches a flu, right? And that's certainly one thing we're experiencing right now. The Haitian economy is going to be catching a flu, right? When you have a textile company and dropping 4,000 people, right? 4,000 jobs, that is not a positive indicator for economic growth. Already, Haiti's looking at around negative 4% GDP growth just because of COVID and, of course, pay log and a bunch of other things, right? If this continues, Haiti certainly will see a much more negative decline, certainly. And that's certainly not the news we like to see here at all, right? Let me take a little sip of this water here. Right. Yours truly asks me, tell us about this dynamic with the dollar taking the goods behind and what are the causes, right? We're going to be talking about that, actually. We're going to be talking about that. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be talking about some of those things in just a moment, right? Right. So let's take a look at IG. Make sure I'm not missing any commenters here in the world of IG. Things are looking good here, right? And of course, remember, guys, feel free to drop a comment on IG. All comments read live on air, right? Right. So let's talk about that. So Central Bank of Haiti, right, has a bit of news. They have announced that this week we're doing a business concept competition for young Haitians. Competition for Haitians between 15 and 30 years old, related to actual entrepreneurial ventures, right? And what they're looking for were projects that needed additional funding. They could have already been started. They could have been in the business plan phase. They were looking for businesses to provide up to $16,000 USD, 2 million good, which is equal to about $16,000 USD to help, right? The deadline has already passed. I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't see this until preparing for this episode. The deadline passed August 7th, which is 2 days ago. But we certainly will keep an eye out on who may be selected, who may win, and come back and report it at a later date. These are, of course, some of the exact sort of initiatives that are absolutely crucial for Haiti. We need entrepreneurial funding. There's enough training programs, enough education programs per capita in this country. What really is lacking, what really is missing in Haiti is money. Show me the money, right? You need folks willing to put up the funds to help start up a startup. And that's just one thing we have not had in the country, which is very problematic, right? So hats off to the Central Bank of Haiti for starting that initiative, and we'll report back when we hear more money. So that's the good, that's the bat chapeau, as they say. Now we're going to talk about critically, some how the monetary funding of the government through the central bank has been a very much of a problem here. And so let's take a step back. I'm glad, I don't know if Freddie Elias is still in the audience here. So this is an economic course we're going to be doing here. Freddie's looking at, oh, damn it, this guy's going to do start again. So let's take a step back, right? Let's take a step back. So a government a government is very unique in a situation that, unlike a household, a government has the capacity to print its own money, right? A lot of times you hear this debate, especially in the United States, or in a lot of other countries as well, of trying to balance your books. We can't spend more than we receive, right? The government's a different entity. You can't really treat a government in a similar way, because the very simple fact, if you and I, right, we're a company, right, and we had legal access to a printing press, right, you are allowed to do things that a normal household can't, right? Now, let's go a little further. Right? Being strategic in how you use the flexibility of the printing press, right, is a very important aspect of running a stable country, right? Because if you can, A, pass the right laws, B, encourage the right legal environment for companies and businesses and people, right? Ensure security, ensure education, ensure all these other things. And there is a situation that happens in your economy outside of your control, like COVID, for example, right? You can do things like temporarily run a deficit, right? So you can overcome the lack of demand that may exist in your consumer or your business or your commercial side, right? To help prop up the economy, so you don't fall into something like a depression, for example. Right? A lot of folks who did take economics, one of the reasons why the depression became the depression was because you had a multiplier effect, a ripple effect, that less folks were consuming, businesses cut back in their investments and activities, which caused more people to lose their jobs, and less consumption, which caused more and more businesses to close down, lost more and more jobs, which caused more and more people to consume less, right? And thus more, so you have a downward, a situation, a race to the bottom, right? Follow me so far? Okay, I'm not using you just yet. So that's when the government, you want the government to step in and say, you know what, we're gonna do the spending. We're gonna spend in the private market so that businesses don't, completely downward trend, don't completely downward trek, right? And continue to cause consumers to lose their jobs and thus not be able to spend, right? And that effect of being able to inject themselves in the economy will then cause this downward spiral to stop, right? And now your economy is back on track. So that's just one example that I want to give to you when I say, you can't treat a government like a household. You can't say you got to balance your books. No, a government that's well functioning understands that there's certain things it has a responsibility to do. It has a responsibility to interject itself in the market so its people, its national security can function right. Okay? Follow me so far? Get it? Okay. Now, to do something like that, you run a deficit, right? And one way to run a deficit. The simplest way most people understand a deficit being run without the minutia of issuing bonds and the credit and debit side of the government balance sheet, right? Which in effect does the same thing as the printing press. We'll just talk about the printing press, the fact that the government can print more money, right? Right now, when you print more money, what happens is you have a devaluation of your currency. It just makes sense, right? You have more of it. You have more of that currency, right? You're going to have less value for that currency. Right? Follow me so far? Follow me? Great. So that's the deficit. Now, Haiti is not a country that has sound government policy. Haiti is not a place that invests in education. It's not a place that invests in an environment that encourages businesses to function appropriately. Haiti's not a place that really makes it a priority for rule of law. Doesn't make it easy for contracts. Anything that a proper functioning government should do, it doesn't do. Right? It doesn't do glaringly and almost proudly. Right? And they go about not doing what they should be doing, right? Now you compound that with the fact that this mismanagement of a government, right, the responsibilities, they have not been able to collect any revenue because of pays loc. For example, right? Pays loc was a situation where the country literally was shut down because of political instability. A lot of different parties were fighting for different things. Wanted to get Jovenel Moïse out. Jovenel Moïse survived it, but because of that, there was no elections. We're in a situation right now where, we jokingly here call Jovenel Moïse King Moïse because he is very much, at this point in time, a king in this country. He was ruling by decree with no parliament to stop him or oppose him, right? And so in a situation like that where you had pays loc, right, and the economy was unable to function, right, you run a deficit just because of the fact that the amount of money you budgeted, right? Because every year you have to put a budget. You didn't receive that money in taxes, in customs, and a lot of different other places, right? So now you're running a deficit. We just talked about how when you run a deficit, the only way to finance a deficit is through a printing press. You got to print money, right? And that's in effect, right, a component of monetary funding. The person who's actually the entity that's actually providing the money for a deficit is the central bank. Central bank provides that, right? That is the monetary funding aspect of this news story. Now let's talk about that for a second, right? Finally, I gave the backstory. Now I think you guys are all caught up with the economics of government, right? Great. See, I just gave you guys a economics course in less than 5 minutes. I saved you guys. I think where I was teaching before, charging about $3,000 for what I just gave you. I just saved you guys $3,000, right? Look at that. You're welcome. You're welcome, right? So monetary financing of the Haitian government between last year and this year rose from 3.96 billion good, for those who understand dollars better, from $32 million to 34.04 billion good. For those who understand dollars, that's $282 million. So from 34 million to 282 million. That is a 722% increase in monetary funding of the government. I'm losing some people. Let me bring it back. Let me move away from the numbers. Let me just break it down to you guys. The government was being funded a lot by a certain percentage by the central bank because they couldn't make the difference. And now 1 year later, they're being funded a lot more because they've been unable to collect tax revenues, right, appropriately to fund the budget. 722%. Kid, mama. That's a lot of money, right? Now, my good friend here, yours truly, PL, in YouTube, asked me a question. He said, Seejeanty, hey, can you help me understand what's going on with the good? Why is the good depreciating like that? I just gave a big piece of why, let's say 40% why the good is depreciating the way it is that is the deficit funding of the Haitian government because it doesn't have the tax revenue. So it's literally, to meet its obligations, it's literally printing money, right? And when you print money, you devalue the currency that you have, right? And that's a big part of it. Now, there's other aspects affecting the currency devaluation, right? First and foremost, inflation. Just the prices of the products themselves have gone up, right? And that's a separate thing in the pot, right? Because you can have no currency devaluation, but you can still have inflation, right? And those things are two separate things, right? All else equal, the price of a can of soup today and the price of a can of soup tomorrow, what's the price? Assuming that there is no devaluation, right? And assuming that, we saw actually this year one of the largest inflation rates in over 30 years. We talked about it last episode in Haiti Biz News. In over 30 years, this is the most inflation we've seen. I mean, we usually see high inflation most years anyways, right? We usually hover around 20% inflation, right? But we're seeing 24%. 24% is the highest, honestly, since the fall of Duvalier happened this year, right? Now, usually inflation has some other factors that involve it, right? But to be clear, right, one thing that has affected very much has been the fact that Haiti has produced less and less product domestically, right? And so because of which it's been stuck in having to import more and more of its food. In fact, Haiti has seen, because of drought conditions, the past 3 years have seen the least amount of rainfall on average, particularly around rainy season, and particularly around harvest or planting time, that we've seen in many years. And of course, climate change certainly is a big part of the reason why we're seeing this very big unpredictability. This year has been a little bit better rainfall wise, but still very, very low, right? And that has contributed to considerably, right? Of course, and lack of investment by the central government in agriculture, and a lack of facilitation of investment from the private sector by the government to allow that to happen naturally through the private. All these things have contributed to, and of course the importation tax policy. Because remember, we talked about this many times on Haiti Biz News. It's cheaper to import tax than grow in your own country. We talked about this, right? Where literally to import rice into the country, it's 0% tax. Zero. I'm gonna say it again. To import rice to the country, zero. To grow it out the ground in the country, you're gonna be charged 10% tax. People think I'm kidding. They usually at this point, folks are like, "Can you say that again?" I'm gonna say this. Oh yeah, sure. I'm sure somebody out there is wait. Can you? I didn't hear that. Can you say it? To import rice into Haiti, it's 0% tax. To grow it out of the ground, there's a 10% tax for that. Wow. Right? So it's these sort of things that have contributed to the situation that Haiti's in right now, where you're seeing inflation rates as high as 24%. Right? And that's a separate thing. But let me come back to the topic here, which is the devaluation of the good. One thing that certainly has impacted the devaluation of the good as well has been the behavior of micro actors that have correlated to the macro condition. What does that mean? What does that mean? For example, myself, right? I'm a contributor, and unfortunately, there's not much I can do about that. Unfortunately, if I get paid a large amount of money in good, okay, I had a client paid me recently around 30, 40,000 good or something like that, right? Immediately, the moment that sucker hits my bank account, you know what I do? I put it in dollars, right? I put it in dollars because I'm not going to keep that much money in good. Why? Literally, 2 months ago, the exchange rate was 100 good to a dollar. Today, it's 120. If I leave that good in good, I'm going to lose 20% of my hard work will be lost, evaporated. Like literally, just you drop a little puddle of water on a hot sidewalk. A mist. That's what's going to happen. Right? I am doing what's logical for me. What's logical for me is taking my good and putting it in dollars. Right? And so you can say, Chris, Seejeanty, you're doing a great job. That's smart. Good job. Right? DJ Khaled, you smart. But here's the problem. When a lot of people do this, you're actually contributing to the devaluation of the currency that you're trying to avoid, right? As an entire millions of individual actors say, you know what, I'm going to immediately convert my currency that I have to dollars. What are you doing? You're saying I do not demand that currency. And that currency loses its value vis-a-vis the currency that you're trading it for, right? Because as more and more people say, yeah, I want dollars, the value of the dollar rises and the value of the currency you're leaving decreases, right? In other words, you're devaluing the dollar, right? And that contributes to about 20% or so of the devaluation tendencies, right? And so me as an economist, I technically a true patriot, I guess, would say, no, leave your currency in good. True patriot would say, leave your currency in good. But the businessman in me, the common sense in me, the guy who, listen, I worked my butt off for that payout. Who the rational guy, a guy who's just rational, who wants to accept 20% loss not because of me at the end of the day specifically, right? Because of the Haitian government not stepping up and doing what they need to be doing. I got to pay that. I got to pay that, right? Nah, I ain't going to pay that. I'm going to move my money as quick as possible to dollars. But I provide that as an example of one of the things driving down the devaluation of the good, right? It's a multiplier effect, right? It's an effect that one causes the other and accelerates the devaluation that's going on right now. And when you look at the statistics of it, right, the central bank reports that when you look at foreign currency deposits converted as a percentage of total deposits, they grew from 69.6% of all deposits to 69.05%. Let me put that in English for you guys. So when you look at the entire amount of money in savings accounts in the country, okay, the total amount of money in savings accounts in Haiti, it was already 66% last year. It's at 69%. So 69% of deposits in the country are actually held in a foreign currency. Wow. Right? Wow. Okay, and it's rising, right? Because of what I just told you. Who in the heck in their right minds, if you have a lot of money, right? When it's a lot of money, even 1,000 good is a lot of money, right? 1,000 good. You're not gonna keep that in good. You're gonna put it in dollars, and then when you're in 5 months or 6 months, when you're ready to use it, you can then convert it back to good, right? And then use it, right? But you're not gonna keep it in good because it's gonna lose its value. It's better to change it, right? But again, that's the situation we're in, right? That is the situation we're in the country, right? That's contributing to it, right? A little bit of interesting statistics, just really quick. Interestingly enough, the diaspora transfers actually grew from 27% to 31%. A lot of folks were saying that we're going to see a decrease in the diaspora transfers. We were talking about Haitians who are abroad sending money in. But we believe that actually the reason why we saw an increase is because we had so many Haitians who were stuck outside, unable to come physically. And so usually the money that perhaps they would have packed in their bags, or packed with them in their wallets. Because remember, you're able to transfer up to $10,000 on your person when you come into the country. They're saying they just, instead of bringing it with them, they just had to transfer it because the airports were shut down, right? And so that's the suspicion of why we saw an increase. Not that necessarily, because we know a lot of Haitians in a lot of places have lost a lot of their jobs because of COVID. The industries that most Haitians are in are also the vocations that had the most amount of job losses as well, right? So just a little interesting little tidbit, right, of stats. So I think that answers your question. Yours truly, PL, right? I believe so. Right? That we just gave a full analysis of what is causing the decrease in currency. Okay, all right. So yeah, that was a very meaty segment. So I want to take a step back, right? First off, let me take a sip of water because I just talked quite a bit. Okay, and let's read the comments. See how many folks I lost here, how many question marks I have. Scroll all the way up here. See what folks are saying. Let's see what folks are saying. Yours truly, PL says they're low-paying jobs, which they're middlemen taking percent. I think that's when I was talking about the job losses for the power plant, the textile plants. You hear this a lot from people who are not in the Haitian economy saying, well, they're low-paying jobs, right? Low-paying from what, right? Because you understand what they're being paid. It's double to triple what they make on their own. So what are you talking about? Right? It's a very frustrating thing because I see where you're coming from as someone saying, well, they're only making. I think they increased the wage for textile workers for somewhere around 400 to 500 good a day is what the minimum wage is for a textile worker, right? And so at the end of the month, they're bringing in. Let's do the math really quick. Oh, my IG is ended. My IG is ended. Let's go ahead and reboot that up. Let's reboot that up on IG. Y'all bear with me here over there in IG land. I probably would have let it go, but I didn't see it to let folks know to join me in another place, right? Okay, IG is back up. IG is back up, right? And that's last time it's going to be up. In fact, I think I'm going to tell folks even before it ends to meet me on Facebook and YouTube, right? So yeah, I was doing some math really quick, right? 400 good by around 26 days. Yeah, that's about what I thought, which is about 10,000 good a month, right? And so when you hear folks critiquing textile worker wages, 10,000 good on their own, they'll make not even half that. On their own, they're either sitting on a hot sidewalk, right, selling fruits or selling imported pepe clothing, right? Or they're walking the streets with something on their head, right? When you look at the alternatives to a factory job that's inside, it's protected from the weather, it's protected from crime, right? You can get the whole time you're in there. A lot of these places actually do provide additional benefits, like transportation assistance. Some places I know of actually, partially help feed their work staff, right? A lot of these extra benefits that you won't get being on your own, right? And again, this is 4,000 people that are receiving these sort of benefits, right? So when I hear that, I hear someone who's making good income in another country, who's, by the way, enjoying cheap clothing, enjoying cheap products, right? All these things that are, because of these sort of, this sort of labor, but critiquing, these companies that are providing these jobs, right? Right now, there is a case to be made. Could they provide more, right? That's when you get into these arguments of, if they provide more, they'll just go to another country, which is what's going to happen, right? It's not even about providing more, it's about providing predictability, right? Because I know of some closures as relates to textile factories, specifically because the government just woke up one day and said, yeah, we're going to increase the wages by 30%. There should be a much more strategic raising of the wages so they can actually put that as part of their pricing contracts that they get into, right? But that's a conversation for another day, right? My point in responding to yours truly, PL, simply to say, it's the wages are actually a lot more impactful than you would think they are, right? These wages are genuinely impactful, right? Because of not only the amount, which is enough usually to take their kids to school, pay for their living costs, right? But also, for the fact of the larger implications of what it does for the economy as a whole, right? Right. But anyways, thanks for that comment. Do appreciate it, right? We got Manny Dorska, telling me to keep it going. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. We got Sabrina Sanzi asked me a question. I have 2 to 5K in a small Haitian business. What is a good investment now? I was thinking of buying a tap, buying art, steel drum, paintings to sell abroad. I like that second idea, Sabrina. I like that second idea. That second idea involves taking a product that's here in Haiti and selling it in America, right? Or selling it in Canada or selling it somewhere else. And any idea that has that sort of structure where you're buying something that someone created here, right? And then you're compensating that person for their work, right? And then which is i.e. encouraging job creation, right? And then taking that and then selling it abroad, right? So i.e. not only are you now making revenue in dollars or Canadian dollars or whatever, but also you're actually doing something where you're changing a perspective of Haiti, right? From a place that is charity into a place that, this place has products. Let me consider buying their products, right? And it is that sort of narrative that's generally can provide Haiti a way out of its poverty, right? So Sabrina, I would say certainly the second route, right? And not the first route. The first route has caused a lot of the issues we see here today. A lot of very smart, very capable, well-endowed Haitians, they just import shit. I'm gonna just speak frankly, right? And use that word because they just import stuff and nothing in the economy changes, right? And in fact, it's contributing to the state that we're in right now because you have devaluing currency. We're not productive, right? No one produces anything, right? But instead, produce this art idea. It's fantastic, right? You're paying artisans, right? You're taking it abroad, you're selling it. You're gonna make a good margin just on the currency alone. You're gonna make a good margin, right? So I would advise you to do it that way, right? And by the way, I am working on a book, and a lot of these questions will be answered in that book. All right, a lot of these questions will be answered in that book. I want to say too, a lot of folks have I told folks to keep me earnest, ask me about the book. How's it going? I can tell you, I crossed a very important milestone in that book's writing, and I can tell you, as I'm sitting here in August, honestly, I want to say that I'm probably going to have that first draft of that book, probably mid-September, right? That first draft, and then it'll just be actually. I want to, I'm gonna just say, speak it to existence. Right, I'm gonna speak it to existence. I'm gonna say I'm gonna have that draft done by the end of August, right? Hunker down and get that first draft. But again, the name of that book that I'm working on, 101 Ways to Make Money in Haiti, lucrative business ideas, inspirational success stories, and intriguing business opportunities for the forward-thinking entrepreneur. And so, Sabrina, that question, if you want to put a pin in it and then buy the book, you'll have 101 ways of how you can potentially impact your dollar. So just something to think about, right? If you so choose. We have Tim Dam 11 saying yes, you can read it when it's finished and released, and on Amazon. Okay, right. Steve Metzelis, hey brother, hey, happy to have you here. Usually I see you in the mornings. Happy to have you here in the evening. Yours truly says, speaking my language, right? Responding to what I was saying before. Manny Doriskar, I am extremely busy, and you have no idea how many people want my attention. And so, how about my information is in the chat? It's in the description. Seejeanty High Pro Solution. How about you send me what your idea is, and if it makes any sense, and it's not totally, if it's rooted in some reality and practicality, I might be able to respond to you. Otherwise, I would advise you to check out. I have a lot of Anupale content where I give people advice specifically for you to consume and use. So just go through my playlist, and most likely, I'm 90% sure whatever you want me to contact me about, I've already talked about in length, or I've included a lawyer or somebody to also come in and talk about it. So I would advise you, Manny, to check out my content and keep yourself informed on that perspective. Or wait for the book. That's also my best way I can leverage my time and myself, right? Either review the content I already created, because I create them for people like you with these sort of questions, or wait for this book, because again, there's no way. I'm running 3 businesses. I work as a full-time consultant for a company in America, and I run this media company. To seriously contact you, right? But nonetheless, my information is below. Send the project you're working on, right? And when we'll see if it's rooted in enough impact for me to be able to carve up a couple minutes of time, right? Jonathan Lamour, hello, how are you doing? First time I'm seeing you in the chat. I think first time I'm seeing you in the chat. I hope to see you again for sure, right? And yeah, I think Jonathan was talking about the situation with the policy of agriculture in the country. And yes, it's true. It's true. That is. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. Look it up. All right. We got Akintunde the Great. Whew, that rose off the tongue. Akintunde. What kind of king are you? One of my favorite African sort of quotes, which is not really African, but yeah, you get what I'm trying to get at. He writes, first time I'm seeing you, first off, welcome. I hope to see you again. We're here Sunday, 11 a.m., right? The Haitian government is not in the interest of Haiti or its people. You are speaking truth. I can't add any more than that, than what he just wrote, right? He asked, how can we change that law? It's how do we change that law? We don't change any law. The government needs to change its laws. The direct way in a normal functioning democracy is by voting people who represent your views. But since the diaspora can't vote, well, sorry, what am I saying? Diaspora can vote. But it's a process of literally registering yourself here in this country, and getting a voter's card, and then literally flying here during voting season to vote, right? Certainly, we hope to live in a day where the Haitian diaspora can vote from anywhere where they may reside. That certainly is the future that I am personally actively trying to get to, right? Where Haitian diaspora can participate, and it's not a radical question. It's not a radical situation. We look in Dominican Republic, not only do they have senators that represent the diaspora, right? They actually hold elections. You can walk into a ballot booth in Puerto Rico. You can walk into a ballot booth in New York, right, and cast a vote for the Dominican politician, while you're in New York, and it has the same value and vote and counts the same way as if you were on the island, right? And so if they can do it, right, and we're in a situation where actually Haiti has the largest brain drain of any people on the planet, right, and it's necessary for Haiti has any real chance of ever growing and having sustainable growth. The fact that 80% of our educated peoples are outside the country, we have to tap into their capacity, their ability, and you would hope their prudence in voting to get a new wave of politicians in. And that is how you change the laws, right? That is how you change the laws, right? But will we ever get there? Will we ever get to that point? I don't know. Right? But we're certainly going to keep fighting and keep seeing what we can do from that perspective, right? Let me see what other folks are saying. Max Gamma says, "Yes, sir. Keep it 100." We've been missing that part for most of our peoples. That is correct. That is correct. Yours truly, Pierre. I do appreciate the comments, 100% there. Jonathan Lameau says, "I think we need to eliminate taxes on agriculture, raise taxes on imports to promote self-sustainability. The diaspora has great ideas. How do we get the regulator?" I just talked about how we have to be a part of the voting process, right? And right now we're not a part of it, and thus because we're not a part of it, there really isn't much we can do, honestly, to change things from that perspective, because it's a government problem, and the only way you can change it is by either changing who's running the government, or you become part of the government yourself, right? And that needs really a constitutional rewrite for Haiti, right? In the meantime, though, you can do things like I suggested Sabrina do, which is, if you are going to do a business that's export focused, and looking abroad, right? And contribute to your personal pocketbook, but additionally, the bettering of the macroeconomic condition of Haiti, right? That is really probably the best thing you can do, right? Your private action, structure a business and your ventures and your activity in the right way, right? Right. Okay, let's take a look at IG really quick, see what folks are saying. We got Your Tax CPA. It's been a while. Happy to have you. Your Tax CPA. It's been a while. Hope you've been well. Your Tax CPA asks, how is Haiti? Haiti is Haiti. Haiti. Toujours c'est Haiti, c'est même pays. You know what I mean? Am I riding my motorcycle? I've only ridden it once, actually. There's a little practice field not too far from where I am, where I reside. And I rode it a little bit just to get some practice. But I've been so busy, I have not been able to ride it again. So don't you worry. I have been riding it. And before I ever take it to the streets, I have to feel genuinely like comfortable with it. Like comfortable as if I'm riding my bicycle, which I'm very comfortable with. And since I don't have really time to practice, it's going to be a while. So don't you worry about that. But thank you for the questions and the concern, right? I'm interested in the criminal justice system in Haiti. I'm not sure why you are. Are you looking to be a lawyer here? I'm not quite sure why you are. And by the way, I couldn't help you. I'm more focused on the business side of things. So I want to be able to help you, Tim. I'm not a criminal justice organization. Nothing I do is aligned with criminal justice. So you're gonna have to keep searching. I won't be able to help you, brother. Your Tax CPA says, so this piece on Dips.org. Thank you. Appreciate it. Sounds like you're one of the people who have made it a very popular video, my most popular video so far. 25,000 views. Incredible. Or actually 26,000 actually. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. And it's always good to give humanity to those who people have decided to try to remove their humanity from, right? So Tim Dam says he wants to know how to work with kids. Yeah, still, I want to be able to help you. I stay away from charity, not-for-profit, all the usual stuff that they like to keep Haiti in a box. Haiti is only about charity and orphanages and stuff like that. I stay away from it. I stay away. I focus on the things that can help these kids. A lot of these kids are in the situations that they're in that requires them to need help because their parents don't have jobs. Period. If their parents had jobs, they'd be taken care of by their parents, and not be in situations where they're in need of charity or in need of participating in crime, etc. So that's why my focus is on the pillar that really impacts the most, right? And that is providing economic opportunity for folks. But nonetheless, Tim, let me know what you find. Feel free to message me when you find what you're looking for, just so I know, because I don't spend any energy on that aspect of things. We got Gildy Dupont says, there's no simple solution. If you raise the import tax on rice, the population will be up in arms because of the price of rice. Importation is staple, right? The solution I have, actually, it's you very aggressively pour a lot of money into the agricultural sector. That's one, in terms of canal building, in terms of road networks, in terms of providing seeds and prep work for farmers. That's one. Number two, you make it really, really easy by creating laws and creating a framework for private and, of course, safety too, in terms of legal protections, to allow private actors to engage in industry, right, and remove the corruption. I mean, I can't tell you personally how many ventures that I am aware of have been in the periphery, in orbit of, helping it come to fruition, that gets stopped because of the corruption of a local deputy, a local senator, a local magistrat, right, who wants to fill their pocketbooks. So rather than allow a project that could potentially impact thousands of people, thousands of jobs, and thousands of units of production of whatever product, they will stop it because they demand a 50% corruption bribe, right? Right? And so it's not that there aren't potential projects, but there is no safety or regard by the government to ensure that these projects see the light of day. You follow me? And so that is another avenue of ensuring that doesn't happen, right? Right. And finally, the part of imports, you very slowly raise that tax, right? Very slowly raise that tax. So you say, okay, year one, we'll raise it to 2.5%. Year two, we raise it to 5%. In year three, we raise it to 7%. So it's a gradual increase in that tax. Meanwhile, the domestic side is being, again, investments happening, right? The government's pouring money. You're putting protections in place so the private sector, isn't being hounded by corrupt officials to give money under the table so projects that can happen. The government's actually encouraging investment. For example, there's a sugarcane factory in Leogan that's sitting vacant, not operating. I know of a fact of private actors who want to take it over and start producing, refined sugar, right? But it hasn't happened because the government has not allowed it to happen, period. Between a portion wanting under the table funding, between another portion of just a lethargic inaction, right? You have a very large sugar facility that could produce and process a lot of the sugar cane that's being produced in the country, not producing refined sugar, and instead we're importing it in. That's just one example I wanted to give you guys. Just one example I wanted to give you guys, right? That's just right here, Leogan, just right outside of Port-au-Prince, right? Just one example, right? It's a problem, right? So it's not as complicated as you may think it is, right? And these solutions, I'm not Einstein, I'm not Adam Smith. These solutions have been known to the Haitian government since the fall of Duvalier, honestly. But there has not been a will, expression Haiti, volonté to do what's right? Instead, it's more about how do you line your own pockets, regardless of what's going on to the country, the people as a whole, right? And that's the situation we're in, right? But thanks for these questions. These are fantastic comments. Let's read the next. Let's move on to the next news story. The Cameroons reopened. August 1st. They're officially reopened. Fantastic. Very happy to hear about that. Deportees. There's a deportee situation right now. There's 1,600 Haitians stranded in Panama right now. 1,600 Haitians stranded in Panama right now, right? And it's a mix of Haitians who had left Haiti in 2010 because of the earthquake from and we're in South America, and now a lot of them were trying to move to better economic opportunities in America, and we're moving illegally across to improve their situation because a lot of the countries that they're in, their visas expired, the opportunities expired. COVID certainly has not made things easy. So 1,600 Haitians currently are stranded in Panama Integration. There's talks about trying to get them repartitioned, sent over to Haiti, back to Haiti, right? In fact, a lot of them are asking for it because they're being held up in very inhumane conditions, right? And so we're keeping a close eye on that news story and see how it shapes up, right? So another very important talking point I do want to talk about today has to do with gang violence in Haiti, right? Um, those who follow Haitian news from other sources, know that there's been an uptick in gang violence in the country. Now, I want to be clear when I say this, right? Because I want you guys to think, oh my God, Haiti's not a place to come to, right? In Chicago last weekend, in one weekend in Chicago, you had enough shootings, injuries, deaths in one weekend that equal what happens in Haiti over a course of 3 months in one weekend in Chicago. In 1 week in Jamaica, you have enough shootings, enough deaths, people being slain in Jamaica in 1 week. That equals the amount of deaths and shootings that occur in Haiti over a month or a month and a half. So let's be clear. Let's be very clear, right? Because folks are very quick to use any little bit of negative news to cast Haiti in a light that favors their self-esteem, right? So let's be very clear, right? It's bad, but it's not bad equal to the places you are nearby and you still go to. Because I don't know anybody who's canceling their trips to Montego Bay, right? I don't know anybody who's canceled their trip to Taste of Chicago. COVID's not forcing it to be canceled, right? Or Lollapalooza, which happens in Chicago, right? Because they understand that what happens in a particular area of town doesn't happen in every area of town. You see what I'm saying? They understand that, right? I'm not going to go to Chicago and go to Englewood, right? I'm going to go to the parts that are safe for tourists. Duh, right? I mean, when I go to Jamaica, I'm not going to go to the hoods of Kingston, right? You're going to go to Montego Bay. You're going to go to the resorts and have a good time and never go to those places. You see what I'm saying, right? And it doesn't affect you, right? Mexico, incredible amount of deaths in Mexico, but you're going to go to Cancun on the beach, enjoying your, what are folks enjoying in Cancun? Your mojitos, whatever, right? It doesn't have nothing to do with you. Haiti's the same way, right? I'm telling you, I'm living it. I'm talking to you in Pittsburgh right now. Bullets, bodies, I don't see any of that, though it's happening, right? So I just put that little asterisk before I really get into this, right? That before you raise your mouth and talk bad about whatever's happening in Haiti, just understand. Tell me about Chicago, bro. Tell me about Baltimore. Tell me about Liberty City in Miami. Tell me about that. Give me those statistics and then compare those statistics with Haiti and then get at me, bro. So I just wanted to just really be really clear before I get into it. Now, that said, let's talk about it. Gang violence in Haiti has been an issue. It's been going on for, really been spiking over the past year or two. The political instability has really caused a void in law enforcement in the country. Pays lock was paralyzing. And immediately after Pays lock, you had really, as I mentioned, a void where gangs were in fact behaving and acting in impunity in the country, right? And in particular, because of some key arrests that happened of some leaders, there was in effect a massive gang war that happened where many died. Many other gangsters and a lot of people who weren't just innocent people were caught in the crossfires, right? Now, that period ended when many of these leaders consolidated themselves to something called a G9, right? And which is in effect a pseudo united front for the gangs in Haiti, right? So let's be clear on what that is, right? But nonetheless, even with this consolidation, the fact that, and I can tell you, this has allowed certain areas of the city to be actually passable. One important arteryway, Matissan, was in effect very much impassable for a while. Recently, over the past month or two, has become passable again. Passable in the sense that it was always passable, but there was a risk of a lot of the violence was spilling over into the highway area where you would pass to go to Okai, to go to Jérémie, to go to Semeyaguan, to go to the south of Haiti. You had to basically pass a war zone, right? And these guys had not just little spray guns. They had like big AKs and military grade weapons, which is, how they get these weapons in the country. That's another question for another day. But they have them, okay? And but despite this alliance, this G9 alliance, right? This confederation of gangsters, Cité Soleil, La Saline, Bel Air, Matissan, Ville-Zedjier, and these are the poorest of the poor. I mean, Haiti is already a poor place. Haiti is already a place where poverty is very painful for people, right? But when I tell you Cité Soleil, La Saline, Bel Air, Matissan, Village-de-Dieu, I'm talking to you about the poorest of the poor, right? Very little social services. This is, this is truly, the wet dream of any poverty pimp NGO. If you ever see the worst parts of Haiti, which they love to show, they go to these places to show it, right? And again, it's a failing of the state. When you ask, why is it that way? It's a failing of the state. No, there's no planning. There's no government buildings for housing. This is truly, in the purest sense, when government fails to act on behalf of its people. Cité Soleil, La Saline, Bel Air, Matissan, that is what happens, right? Okay. So these people in these places still, despite this confederation, and the gangs have stopped fighting amongst themselves, there's still, for example, in the month of July, there were 50 deaths tied to gang violence in Cité Soleil alone, right? We're getting reports daily of dead bodies in the streets of Cité Soleil, right? And so, given what's going on, of course, the government has responded. The government has arrested many. The government has, in large part, reason why there's been a quiet has been the reaction of the government and the police. And recently, the past few days, Jovenel Moise, King Moise, has actually said, zero policy, a zero tolerance policy, meaning anyone found with a gun on them, anyone caught in the act of violence, drug selling, anything, zero tolerance policy, they will be executed and shot on sight, right? Whether or not you agree with that or not, right? It's worked in Haiti in the past under Préval, where there was a very strong element of violence. That zero tolerance policy lowered the amount of violence that was happening by quite a bit when it was last enacted. We suspect it's going to cause that same drop down as well, right? But the real discussion, I guess, really has to do with why, right? And of course, how do these folks get these guns, right? How do these folks get in positions where they have resources available to buy bullets, right? Now, Haiti Biz News isn't a show that pushes conspiracy theories, pushes things that isn't. We don't push rumors here, right? But there is a lot of incentive to destabilize the current government, right? A lot of actors who do not like this current situation. And there's a lot of actors who would prefer a destabilized situation right now. And the best way to provide that destabilization is to ensure certain actors like these gangsters have funds, have guns, and are able to, in fact, inflict terror, right? To help their case in destabilization. Right now, I'm not saying who the actors are. right? But certainly there is an incentive in place for things to be bad, right? So those who prefer things to go their way can have influence to name people in places once a change of guard were to happen. Since waiting to 2022 and using democracy isn't something that folks are used to doing who are in power here. They're not getting PACs and voting and going following that process isn't necessarily the way things are done here in Haiti, right? So all that said, I did want to engage in this topic of gang violence, right? Provide understanding of generally what is the undercurrent of what's causing it. The fact that you had a vacuum that happened because of pay lock, right? And actors within the economy that encouraged it either directly or indirectly because it served the interest of that particular group, right? And that's really, and this isn't news, right? Shouldn't be news to anyone. Like when you look in Jamaica, one of the reasons why things are so incredibly violent in Jamaica is that for many years, especially in the 80s to 90s, we're talking about the Bob Marley era, right? Right. Just do the quick history on Bob Marley and understand what he was coming out of. He was coming out of a situation where you had one government party funding gangs for one side of action and another government party funding gangs over the other side of gang activity, and literally duking it out in the streets for ultimately political gain, right? So when I share this information to you guys, I don't want you to think this is a uniquely Haitian thing, right? It's happened in other places in the Caribbean, right? And there's ways to get out of it because Jamaica is doing very well for itself overall, despite still very high violence rates. And there's certainly still ways for Haiti to get out of it as well. But it starts with bringing, the way you stop a young person from being a violent criminal is providing them alternatives so they never become a violent criminal in the first place. Meaning what? Meaning that they get education, get access to education, get access to healthcare, get access to jobs, right? Invest in that community, right? Provide housing, right? A lot of things that these communities don't have: electricity, water, sewage, basic necessities. Provide that. Give these children hope so that they'll become hopeless. And then once they become hopeless, they get a gun in their hand, they get fast money, and they're gone. I mean, most of these guys, even if I don't know about rehabilitation for a lot of these guys, some of them can, a lot of them, I don't know. But the best way to prevent that from happening is while you're cracking down on these mischievous types, you very aggressively, promote humanity in these areas by investing in providing social services in these areas, right? And that's the gang situation in Haiti, right? We got one more set of news stories to go through, but I want to take a quick second pause. We just went through a meaty section here. I want to go ahead and take a look and see what folks are saying. I saw some activity happening on Instagram here. Let me take a look, see what folks are saying. Tim Dam was saying some things about the background of why he wants to do some research. No problem, brother. Hope you find those places. Unfortunately, I want to be able to help. A real estate renaissance says a lot of info on agriculture websites and goes into detail of trade of Haiti, but because of fraud and corruption, Haiti it has no morals. I'm in DC, and they talk about the Haitian government is extremely disorganized. Yep, yeah. You got it right on the nose. Being disorganization and corruption, it's hard to move forward in that sort of ecosystem. So certainly, UTAC CPA says, what about bookkeeping services where the work can be done in Haiti in support of businesses abroad? Absolutely. That is outsourcing, basically what you're saying. Outsourcing and back office operations is certainly possible, and actually something I do actually. One of my business services that I offer, my outsourcing business, is just that, right? So if you have some ideas, your tax CPA, you make sure you hit me up, message me, DM me. Let's see what we can do together, right? Particularly if you have some clients. I know you're, as your name implies, you're in taxes, so you might be someone we can work together. Can you talk about Calico Beach? It was bought by who? I believe it was bought by Hilton a while back. Nothing's happened, unfortunately. I haven't seen. I don't know if it was bought by Hilton, but at the very least, they had a franchise of Hilton that was going to start there. But I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I haven't seen it start. You know, it's a black box. No idea. But last I heard, it was purchased, and we're still waiting for Hilton to actually move in and start doing some work. So we'll see. Right. So thanks for those comments, guys. Appreciate it. And by the way, when Instagram falls again, it's probably going to fall relatively soon. Do go ahead and just jump on YouTube or Facebook, Seejeanty. Okay. All right. See what folks are saying here in the chats here. Let's scroll up a little bit. Okay. Since decided in Kai and Welch and Cap, 2 former sugarcane plants, right? Yeah, that's some more great example of agricultural opportunities that exist in those areas, right? Right. Your truth PL, yep, tough times, tough measures, right? You're absolutely right. Franz Camille, is someone only using American dollars in Haiti? Does that person feel the inflation rate affect someone who's only using Haitian good? And the answer is, if you're making your money in dollars, right? For example, I've encouraged people I've encouraged people to get remote jobs, for example, where you're in Haiti and you're being paid in dollars, right? And that person who's making money in dollars, is not going to feel the economic effects that affect the country the same way, right? Because they're making money in dollars. So when they bring it into the country, their dollar goes far, right? Their dollar goes very, very far, right? And so the answer is that that's why it is exponentially better to build a business, right, that is outward based, right? I mean, I can't be any clearer. Like I'll be, God willing, I'll be in this country for many decades. I'll continue my entrepreneurial bent. I'll continue to open up businesses. I can tell you, I don't really see any for-profit activity that I do that will ever be purely inward based, just because depending on this domestic economy is insanity, right? Because given the way the goods have devaluating, right, the inflation, the bad government policies that have impacted the way actors behave, it just doesn't make sense to set up a setup for myself where I'm getting paid in good. And the best way not to be paid in good is to set up businesses that are outward faced, international faced, maybe exporting, outsourcing, etc. Right? Great question. Thanks for that. All right. Jonathan Lemo says, I understand if this is a lot to ask, but it would be great if you could compile a list of non-corrupt, trusted businesses as main industries in Haiti. So to be clear, businesses aren't corrupt in Haiti. So let's be clear. I'm in the business sector. I've worked with a lot of businesses in different aspects, and businesses aren't corrupt. Businesses are businesses. They're doing things. They're providing good customer service. Relatively speaking. I ain't talking about restaurants. Restaurants are terrible, but businesses aren't corrupt, right? The government's corrupt, right? And so let's separate that. I don't know where you're getting businesses, right? If you're looking to do something in the country, right? You just you do a Google search for that topic, you'll find a business doing it, and you reach out to that business and you buy their product, or you purchase their services, and you work with that business. It's a business, right? And business, if what you want to buy is what they sell, you'll be able to purchase and use their product to advance your initiative, right? So, that's as best as I can provide as an answer, Jonathan. Right? LM goes, can you repeat the name of a few owners of the new owners of Calico Beach? Hilton. Hilton owns Calico Beach now. That's the last I heard about that news story. Hilton bought it, right? If it wasn't Hilton, a group of investors who are closely associated with Hilton that will have Calico Beach as a franchise, right? That's all I know about it, right? France Camille says, are you able to run air conditioning on the system of electric setup that you have in your office, right? So my office is on solar panels, right? And you are you aren't able, as far as I'm understand it. Last time I spoke with my electrician, you can't run air conditioning on solar panels, right? Now, the way around that is just setting up getting a generator. When I have like 2 generators here, just running a generator, right? And just have your air conditioning on that. But honestly, believe it or not, people don't really appreciate this when I tell them this. Haiti's not that hot, right? At least not where I am, right? I mean, there's certain parts of it that's hot, like like La Plaine. La Plaine is like literally like near the airport. You're on the lowest part of Haiti, you get pretty hot there. But I'm in Pétionville. Pétionville it's a bit up the hill. It's a bit up the hill, a bit of elevation, right? And it's quite a bit cooler up here. I'll be honest with you. And a lot of folks live even further up. A lot of folks, although I'll never live up in those areas because it's just too constraining. There's only 2 roads that go up to these areas, and there's always traffic and it's always a pain, right? Potentially if one car breaks down, But a lot of people who have money live up in Kinskov, Thomasin. Where else? Thomasin, Kinskov, Montenoir. And these places are very, very cold. In fact, they're so cold you wear a jacket. Like in August, these are cold places, right? And those places you don't need air conditioning, right? A fan's enough. And even where I'm at in Pétionville, a fan's enough. I don't need it. Honestly, I don't. First off, I've never been a fan of air conditioning. I guess maybe I'm a little biased, but especially where I'm at here, a fan's enough, right? I just have a fan on me and I'm cool. I'm fine. But to answer your question, though, no, you can't run air conditioning on solar panels because air conditioning just takes up too much electricity. It'll suck up your batteries too much. Okay. Thanks for that question, though. Jonathan says, my parents have done business with some people. I guess corrupt is the wrong word, but trust is really what I want to say. I don't know, man. Just message me. My email is in the description. If there's a particular business that you're trying, you need, information on, I can tell you if they have a good reputation or not. If there's a particular thing you're looking to buy or service you're trying to get, you're welcome to email me and I can provide a recommendation on what I've heard is good. But I'm not going to make a list, because, businesses change, businesses, close and open all the time, right? It'd be too much work, right? And a lot of these businesses, honestly, 90% of them, the ones that have established, they're established because, one thing that folks don't really appreciate is Haiti's a small town, right? And so businesses that are behaving poorly won't stay in business long enough because the word will spread that they're bad and people will avoid them and they will be out of business, right? It's very much a small town, right? And so, I don't, my experience with the sense of my parents and it finishes, the way most parents do business in Haiti, it's very different from the way I would advise and the way I do business in Haiti. Right? I don't, it's not because somebody I'm close with comes to me with a product that I buy from them, right? It has to be a product that, or service that I genuinely need. And I do my own research on where else I can get it, right? And that has helped me tremendously. I just know most old school Haitians talk poorly about Haiti and their experiences. When I sit down and I listen to their strategies of how they got screwed over, I usually ask them, why did you do that? Why did you here's the question. when you hear these stories and they tell you this, ask them, would you have done that in America? Would you have just handed some random person you just met just because he's a friend of a cousin or a cousin, $10,000 USD and who has no business school education, no experience in that domain, a bunch of money, and just hope they acted the way that they expected you to, right? That's usually the common thread of these older school Haitians who had a very bad experience in Haiti, right? And if the answer is no, they wouldn't have done that in America, then why the hell did you do it in Haiti, right? And please stop talking bad about Haiti's business environment because you did something boneheaded that made no sense, right? But anyways, you got my email, Jonathan. It's in the description. Feel free and reach out if there's a specific business line you're trying to get information on. Right? I'll see if I can help or not. Vibe and Jay, what's up? What's up? Good to have you in the chat. You're a little late. We started a while ago. Happy to have you. Right? Delma is hot. Yeah, Delma can be pretty hot. Yeah, I can attest to that. Right? But still, it depends on how the house is structured. My office in my house is structured very, very well. Big windows, breezes are able to come right in. And so too, it's how houses are designed. A lot of houses are designed with coolness in mind as well, right? That's part of it. Sammy Lammy, happy to see you in the chat. It's been a brother, Sam. It's been a while, Sam. Been a stranger, man. Been a stranger. It's not good. Hit me up on WhatsApp. What's going on, bro? You doing good? Sammy says, "What's up, man? How can we record the diaspora to remote work in Haiti? Also, what is the best places for the diaspora to live for remote work? How do we encourage letting them know that's a possibility? I think a lot of professionals in the diaspora don't even know that. A lot of jobs these days are remote. Though they are getting exposure to that, a lot of are white-collared working professionals working remote because of COVID, and seeing the benefits of that. I don't know, that idea doesn't even cross their minds. Even those that are experienced or desire to return to Haiti, they think, oh, I got to quit my job and hopefully maybe find another job in Haiti, which is terrible because you're just taking a job from a Haitian. And others who are more entrepreneur minded, again, think they should just quit their jobs. I always tell any entrepreneur the better way to go about it is forget a remote job. Get a job that doesn't require you to drive to the office. They give you a laptop. You work from a distance, and then from there you can be in Haiti very comfortable because you have an income in dollars, same level of income that you have here, have in America. You bring with you, but then that level of income, say if you're making $60,000 in America, $60,000 in America, in most cities doesn't really mean much. A guy who lived in Miami, I lived in South Florida. So, for example, 60,000 meant very little. But 60,000 US in Haiti can do a lot for you. I mean, you're basically a king with $60,000 in Haiti. You hear me? And so just letting folks know that's an option. That's number one. Right? And I try to as much as for those who watch me. I probably need to do a new poly about it. In fact, probably that's on the list of things to talk about. But the second question Sammy has is what are the best places in diaspora to live? And honestly, Airbnb. A lot of Airbnbs that you see on the site, they if you reach out to the owner, a lot of them actually will gladly do a long-term rental situation for you. And a lot of these places are very much well situated. They have generators, they have solar panels, they have infrastructure in place to receive you per your first world standards and necessities. And so that's what I would suggest as a start, Airbnb and having conversations with the owner. But then while you're in the country, just as you move around, as you network, right, you'll talk to different people, and then people will tell you, oh, this place is pretty good. It's not more affordable than where you're at. And so once you're here, it'll be a lot easier to find even better situations. But while you're abroad, I would advise you to Airbnb it. Right? So thanks for that question, Sammy. Appreciate it, brother. Hope you're doing well. Vibe and Jay says, I live in the mountains right now in North Carolina. One day I do plan to go visit Haiti, my people. Absolutely. Haiti will be better off for it. And Haiti is your country at the end of the day. And it's certainly, there's so many nice resorts, so many nice hotels, instead of going to Jamaica or Bahamas or these places, consider Haiti. Haiti is as deserving for your relaxation dollars as anywhere else. You don't have to go to Haiti to do business, right? And business isn't for everyone, anywhere, especially in Haiti. But you certainly can come and spend your money and relax on the beach, right? That's certainly anyone can do, right? General Relation followed up, was running the same thing. So there is a reliable internet service in Port-au-Prince. In fact, that's probably where you get the most reliable internet. It is in Port-au-Prince. I mean, my businesses are very much internet based. I have 2 lines of fiber here. They're not super. It's not super stable, right? But that's why I have 2 lines, not just one. But their uptime is somewhere around 95% uptime, which is more than enough for my business to run sufficiently. But the short answer is yes, there is internet. I want to be here talking to you right now. I'm in Haiti, right? I'm not spiky here. You guys can see me very fluidly, very clearly, right? So take that as proof. If you can see me, if I'm talking to you, then yes, there is good, stable internet. Okay, all right. Okay. Edwin, what's up? I don't know if you said anything before, Edwin, but good to see you, man. All is well, brother. All is well. All right. See anything in IG? No, all quiet in IG? All quiet? Okay. And the last news story has to do with electricity. Electricity, right? So first piece of news has to do with EDH. EDH, the strike has ended, right? The strike has ended for EDH. Things are back to normal, right? And Cap Haitien, the spare parts, first piece of spare parts have arrived to Haiti and delivered in Cap Haitien. The engines are being fixed, right? And since Thursday, and very soon they expect that power to be flowing again in Cap Haitien, right? Right. And so, but again, I can tell you as a general update to the electricity situation, it's rough out here. It's rough out here. I think I'm going on day 25 or 26. No electricity in Petronville. In fact, I installed 2 solar panels in my apartment. I think I needed one more. To generate the amount of electricity I need and not stress out my batteries. I need one more solar panel. So tomorrow I'm looking to buy one more solar panel. But my office has been lights out, incredible. My 8 solar panels, 12 batteries have been performing magnificently. In fact, they're performing so well, I may never go back to state electricity. You hear me? I may never go back to state electricity. I may just keep that breaker off and stay on my solar panels. Because first off, state electricity is really expensive. For a little bit of power they have, I was paying somewhere around $100 a month, right? And so, I'm probably not going back. So good luck to EDH. Even after they fix all their plans, I think a lot of people have been experiencing the same thing. A lot of people have gone solar. A lot of people are like, whoa, this solar stuff's pretty good, and a lot of people aren't going to go back to EDH. Because EDH, between the poor quality power, the unstable power, and now the no power, I think a lot of folks aren't going to go back if they can help it, right? So we'll see, right? That's the last bit of news. We have, right? We were here 2 hours, incredible, right? But before we call it off, let me go ahead and see what last few folks here are saying in chat, right? Claudie Love Lewis, Nulawi, c'est bon, Haïti, dernier moment, man. I'm kidding. I know I switched up my times. It's all good. We'll be back 11 a.m. next week, per usual. God willing, right? Macedonia. Okay, there you go. Macedonia subject. First time I'm seeing you in the chat here. Happy to have you. Hope to see you again for sure. Thank you for the compliment there. Macedonia said the work I'm doing is priceless. Really, you watching it is priceless. That's what's really matters. You watching it and hopefully you sharing it, across your network to help with that mission of changing the perspective. That's really matters here. Is I can produce really nice looking content, but if you guys aren't sharing it, it's like a tree falling in the forest, right? If a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, did it really fall in the forest, right? And if I'm producing great content and you're not sharing it so people can see it, am I really producing great content? I don't know. I need your help. Share it, please. All right. But Macedonia, hope to see you again for sure in the chat. Macedonia says, how much does the 8 panels cost? Well, a lot. I think I did a video on it. I didn't think. I did do a video on it. In that video, I share point by point the cost of my solar panel setup in Haiti. And so it's in the Anu Palais playlist, right? So if you go to my channel on YouTube, Seejeanty, and then you go to the playlist for Anu Palais, and you go down, it's one of my earlier videos, actually. You'll see that episode that I actually even do a little tour of my electricity setup. I think I even went up as high and actually showed you guys the solar panels, I think. At least I showed you the batteries set up and everything I had. And so, yeah, I talk about it, right? So do check that out in full detail, line item by line item, okay? Claudia Love Lewis, can you install AC on your solar panel? You came late. I answered that already, and the answer is no. You can't. What I said in that answer was Haiti isn't as hot as you think it is. You know, if you live, I live in Pitchville here, and it's very cool. It's not hot. It's not nearly as hot as you think. In fact, again, I always tell people I'm cooler here in Haiti based on where I live. And also another thing that's important too is the design of your home in Haiti. A lot of homes are poorly designed. They're not designed well, right? But luckily for me, my apartment, even my office, they're designed relatively coolly, right? And so even without good ventilation, air passes through very well here. And so the need for something more advanced really isn't necessary. I just turn off my fan, I'm fine, right? But in those cases, you need a generator. You need a generator to run your AC. Right? AC really can't run on solar panel. Not yet. Maybe another 10 years as technology improves and solar panels can output more and more electricity. I think I would be surprised. I feel confident in another 10 years, solar panels will advance to a point where you can use AC on them, right? But as it stands right now, you can't, right? Ulises Garcia says, what type of solar panel, what brand did you install? I think mine's is around 400 watts. I think they call that monocrystal solar panels, right? And that's as much as I know about it. I hired an electrician who specializes in it, and the electrician did a great job. Right? IG's wrapping up here. Those on IG, if you want to keep watching. We're wrapping up here, but if you want to keep watching, come on YouTube Seejeanty or Facebook Seejeanty. Okay? All right? Peace. Let's see. Macedonia has shared it. Guys, is corrupt waiting to happen like off grid, right? Is what yours truly PL said. You have enough power with the solar panel to generate AC. Already answered that. Rich T says, hey, Seejeanty, missed the live, but we'll watch afterward. Hope all is well. Love the interviews with the deportees. Will there be more to come? There's always, more deportee episodes. Is that what you're asking? I don't know. What we do here, we try to encourage all conversation from a lot of different aspects, right? So there is going to be more conversation of different peoples who live here in Haiti. That's going to continue. Every week we're dropping new content. At the top of the hour, I talked about how we're going to have this incredible episode, me going out of town, Undale, and sharing not only the beautifulness of St. Louis du Sud, but also the people who are there, and also this incredible infrastructure project that's happening out there, and sharing those people's stories as well, right? So that's happening, right? So there's always more to come, right? There's a reason why the catchphrase is we're back at it again, and of course when I leave, we'll be back at it again. We're back at it again because we're always back at it. We're here. We're consistent. We're putting out output. And so the short answer is, Rich T, yes, of course, there's more to come. But again, the focus here on the channel on Seejeanty is really, I want folks to understand that we're here to talk business. We're here to talk economics. We're here to talk, folks who are providing jobs, folks who are changing the ecosystem for work. Because at the end of the day, there's only one thing that really will impact multi-generational impact for this country. And that's that. It's not charity. It's not education is important as well, right? But education can only go so far as a job that's waiting for you, or someone who's able to take that knowledge and create jobs, right? And so understand, this channel is based on that, because that is the only thing that can change this country, right? Economic opportunity, right? Right. And so that is you can bet that is going to continue to happen and be shared with you guys, right? Yours truly, PL, says they do have solar run AC systems. Okay, that's fantastic. That's great. That's great. If that's happening in Canada right now, then that's, I'm sure, around the corner for Haiti. That would be great when that actually becomes affordable and ubiquitous, right? Macedonia, I'll have this be the last comment I read. Do you have a WhatsApp number besides sharing? How can the diaspora, such as myself, help through Patreon? And so you have a little ticker tape happening right there, so you can always add to the war chest of what we do here by contributing to Square Cash directly. That's a great way to impact right away. But we do have a Patreon. Patreon is in the description, so if you look in the comments of this video, you'll see the Patreon link. We do have Patreon as well, so you can always contribute that way as well, if needed too. We even have PayPal. If you can't do Square Cash, for example, that's always something I've given in the past as well, as an additional way to contribute. And I actually will type that in here. PayPal.me/Hypro is another way to contribute to us here, right? All right. So there you go, Macedonia. If you want to contribute, however you want to contribute, you have that ability, and we thank you in advance for that contribution. That contribution will go to the investment of the content that we do here, right? But as always, guys, you guys can always do what costs you very little but does incredible impact, which is share the stream, right? And those who contribute to the conversation today, share your contribution by sharing the stream, right? Remember, YouTube Seejeanty, we had this incredible episode we just dropped on deportees. If you haven't watched it yet, so far it's our most popular episode ever, right? In 24 hours, we did incredible numbers. So if you haven't watched it yet, go to YouTube Seejeanty, check out that deportee episode. We're adding a perspective that we haven't had a chance to talk about here, which is the deportee experience and deportees impacting the country in the positive way. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out, right? And of course, share the stream if you enjoyed it. I can't share enough. Share it, right? And guys, we'll be back next week. Next week we'll be back. Usual time, Sunday, 11 a.m. Okay, Sunday, 11 a.m. All right, guys. That's it. That's a wrap. And folks, as you already know what the saying is going to be. Say it with me. Say it with me, guys. We'll be back at it again when we're back at it again. Peace.